On the eve of their engagement announcement, a powerful billionaire CEO makes a dangerous choice. He disguises himself as a filthy, limping beggar and approaches the woman he plans to spend his life with. He tells himself it's just a test. One moment to be sure her love is real. But he wasn't prepared for what followed. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day, wherever you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments, I'd love to know. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Trust me, today's tale is one you won't want to miss. In front of strangers, his fiancée doesn't just ignore him. She humiliates him. Her words cut deeper than poverty ever could, drawing laughter from the crowd and silence from his security team watching from a distance. Still, he says nothing, because walking away would mean failing the test too soon. Then everything spirals. A single insult triggers a chain reaction no one sees coming. His closest aides panic. His bodyguards receive a coded order, and a luxury convoy quietly reroutes toward the exact location of the beggar. As tension builds, the woman begins to sense something is wrong. Faces in the crowd change. Sirens echo closer. The man she mocks slowly stands, no longer weak, no longer shaking. When his true identity is finally revealed, the street falls into stunned silence. Knees tremble. Apologies come too late. But the biggest shock isn't the reveal. It's his final decision. One that will either lead to an unexpected redemption powered by love, or a heartbreak that money, power, and regret can never fix. And the question that keeps viewers watching till the end: was this test about her, or about the kind of man he was becoming? Roman Blackwell didn't build a billion-dollar empire by trusting easily. At 34, he'd learned that people saw his wealth before they saw him. The boy who grew up in a cramped apartment above a laundromat, who wore the same jacket for 3 winters straight, who promised his dying mother he'd make something of himself. He did. But success came with a price: constant suspicion. Every smile felt calculated. Every compliment seemed rehearsed. Every relationship carried the shadow of doubt, until he met Charlotte Hayes. She was different, or so he thought. Charlotte worked as an event coordinator at one of his hotels. She didn't fawn over him during their first meeting. She corrected his seating arrangement at a charity gala with confidence that bordered on defiance. "Mr. Blackwell, with all due respect, your layout creates bottlenecks. People need flow, not hierarchy." He was captivated. Their relationship bloomed over 6 months of stolen moments. Coffee before dawn, late-night drives where she'd fall asleep in the passenger seat, Sunday mornings where she'd make him laugh until his sides hurt. She never asked about his money, never requested lavish gifts. She seemed content with him, just him. But Roman's past whispered warnings he couldn't silence. His best friend and CFO, Ethan Cole, noticed the change in him. "You're different with her," Ethan said one evening in Roman's penthouse office, watching the city lights blur below. "More human." "That scares me," Roman admitted, swirling whiskey in his glass. "What if I'm wrong about her?" Ethan leaned back. "Then you'll know." "But Roman, what if you're wrong about yourself? What if you've become so obsessed with protecting your empire that you've forgotten how to just live?" The question haunted him. Charlotte's birthday was in 3 days. Roman had planned everything: a private yacht, a custom diamond necklace, an announcement to the world that she was his future. But doubt crept in like poison. He remembered his father's words before he passed. "Son, when you have everything, you'll discover that everyone wants something." Roman had sworn he'd never be fooled, never be used, never be the naive rich man who fell for a pretty face and empty promises. But Charlotte's laugh was genuine. Her touch felt real. The way she looked at him, really looked at him, made him believe love could exist without conditions. Still, he needed to be sure. "I have to test her," Roman said quietly. Ethan's eyes widened. "Test her? Roman, that's necessary." Roman's jaw tightened. One moment of truth. "If she loves me, truly loves me, she'll pass. If not..." He trailed off, the unspoken consequence hanging heavy in the air. What Roman didn't know was that Charlotte had secrets of her own. Secrets that would collide with his test in ways neither of them could predict. The plan was simple. Almost too simple. Roman would disguise himself as a homeless beggar and approach Charlotte on the street, where she volunteered every Saturday morning at a community center. He'd watch how she treated him when she thought he was nobody, when his wealth, his power, his name meant nothing. Ethan protested until the very end. This is insane. You're risking everything over paranoia. It's not paranoia if people have actually betrayed you, Roman shot back, applying dirt to his face in the back seat of his SUV, parked 3 blocks away. His security team surrounded the vehicle, earpieces active, expressions grim. He wore torn clothes purchased from a thrift store, a fake beard that itched terribly, and contact lenses that dulled his sharp gray eyes to a murky brown. A baseball cap completed the transformation. "Sir, I strongly advise against this," his head of security, Kyle Martinez, said through the open door. Too many variables. Too much exposure. Roman ignored him. He'd made up his mind. At exactly 9:47 a.m., Roman watched Charlotte exit the community center, laughing with 2 other volunteers. She looked radiant, her honey blonde hair catching the morning sun, her smile effortless and warm. His heart squeezed. This is the woman I love, he thought. This is the woman I'm about to test. He stepped into her path, limping deliberately, hunched over like pain had become his permanent posture. Charlotte's laughter died. Her eyes landed on him, or rather, on the beggar he pretended to be, and something flickered across her face. Disgust? Pity? Roman couldn't tell yet. "Excuse me, miss," he rasped, disguising his voice. "Could you spare some change? I haven't eaten in 2 days." The moment stretched. Charlotte's 2 friends, Mia and Hannah, stepped back instinctively, their noses wrinkling. "Charlotte, come on," Mia urged, tugging her arm. "We're going to be late for brunch." But Charlotte didn't move. She stared at Roman, at the beggar, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke. "You smell disgusting." The words hit Roman like a physical blow. His security team tensed in their hidden positions. Ethan, listening through a concealed mic, cursed under his breath. But Roman stayed in character. He had to see this through. "Please," he begged, reaching out a trembling hand. "Anything helps." Charlotte's face twisted. "Anything helps?" she repeated, her voice rising. "You know what would help? Getting a job instead of harassing people on the street." Laughter erupted from a small crowd that had begun to gather. Roman's stomach churned. This isn't her, he thought desperately. She's just having a bad day. But Charlotte wasn't finished. "Look at you," she continued, her voice dripping with contempt. "Filthy, pathetic, probably spent whatever money you had on drugs or alcohol. People like you are the reason this neighborhood is going downhill." Hannah and Mia giggled nervously. Someone pulled out a phone and started recording. Roman's hand dropped. His heart shattered. Then Charlotte said the words that changed everything. "My fiancé is Roman Blackwell. Do you know who that is? He's a billionaire. A king. And you're nothing. You'll always be nothing." Silence fell like a hammer. In that moment, Roman wanted to rip off his disguise and end the charade. But something stopped him, a sick curiosity to see how far she would go. Behind him, Kyle's voice crackled urgently in his hidden earpiece. "Sir, we have a situation. Local police are responding to a disturbance call. We need to extract you now." But Roman didn't move, because Charlotte had just pulled out her phone, smirking at the crowd. "Watch this," she said. "I'm calling my fiancé's assistant. Let's see how fast this trash gets removed." That's when everything spiraled out of control. The phone call never connected. Charlotte frowned, staring at her screen. That's weird. Eva always answers. What she didn't know was that Eva Chun, Roman's executive assistant, was sitting in a surveillance van 2 blocks away, watching everything unfold on multiple screens with mounting horror. "Sir, abort," Eva whispered into her mic, her hands shaking. "Please abort the test. This has gone too far." But Roman stood frozen, his beggar disguise now feeling less like a costume and more like a prison. The woman he loved, the woman he'd planned to announce as his future wife in 3 days, had just used his name as a weapon to degrade someone she thought was beneath her. The crowd had grown. Phones were out, recording every moment. Someone had already posted the confrontation to social media with the caption, "Rich girl's fiancé is a billionaire, and she's not afraid to say it face with tears of joy." Mia nudged Charlotte. "Maybe we should just go." But Charlotte seemed energized by the attention. She turned to the crowd. "You all see this, right? This is what's wrong with society. People begging instead of working. No ambition. No drive." Roman's fists clenched. Years of carefully constructed walls around his heart were crumbling. He'd survived hostile boardrooms, cutthroat negotiations, betrayals that cost him millions. But nothing prepared him for this intimate devastation. Then a little girl changed everything. She couldn't have been more than 7, with braided hair and a yellow sundress. She slipped through the crowd and stopped in front of Roman, her wide brown eyes studying him with the brutal honesty only children possess. "Are you hungry, mister?" she asked softly. Roman's throat tightened. He nodded, not trusting his voice. The girl reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled dollar bill and 2 quarters. "My mama says we should help people who are hurting. Here." She pressed the money into his dirty palm. Charlotte scoffed. "Sweetheart, don't waste your money on." "His name is written on his hand," the girl interrupted, pointing. "See, right there." Roman's blood turned to ice. He'd been so careful with his disguise, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail: the small tattoo on his left wrist. Just 2 letters, RB. Roman Blackwell. Charlotte's eyes narrowed. She stepped closer, really looking at the beggar for the first time. Roman could see the exact moment recognition flickered. Her face went pale. Her lips parted. "No," she whispered. The crowd sensed the shift in energy. The laughter died. Phones zoomed in. Kyle's voice erupted in Roman's ear. "Sir, we're moving in. 3 vehicles converging on your location. ETA 30 seconds. But Roman slowly straightened from his hunched position. He removed the baseball cap, peeled off the fake beard, took out the brown contacts to reveal his piercing gray eyes. Charlotte stumbled backward, her hand flying to her mouth. "Roman!" The crowd exploded with gasps and frantic whispers. "Oh my God, that's Roman Blackwell. The billionaire? This is insane." Hannah and Mia looked like they wanted the sidewalk to swallow them whole. Roman said nothing. He just stared at Charlotte, the woman he'd loved, the woman he'd doubted, the woman who'd just confirmed every fear he'd tried to suppress. "Roman, I can explain," Charlotte stammered, tears springing to her eyes. "I didn't know it was you. I would never." "Exactly," Roman said quietly, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "You would never, if you knew it was me." 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt at the curb. Kyle and 4 other security personnel emerged, forming a protective barrier around Roman. Charlotte reached for him, but Kyle smoothly intercepted. "Ma'am, step back." "Roman, please." Charlotte's voice cracked. "Let me explain. I was stressed. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking very clearly," Roman interrupted, his tone empty of emotion. "You were thinking about hierarchy, about worth, about who deserves kindness and who doesn't." The little girl still stood nearby, confused but protective. Roman knelt down to her level and pressed a $100 bill into her hand. "Thank you," he said gently. "You reminded me that goodness isn't about what you have. It's about who you are." The girl beamed. Roman stood and turned to Kyle. "Take me home." As he walked toward the SUV, Charlotte's sobs followed him. "Roman, wait. I love you. I'm sorry. Please don't do this." But Roman didn't look back. Inside the vehicle, Ethan sat waiting, his expression grim. "I'm sorry, brother." Roman stared out the tinted window as they pulled away, watching Charlotte collapse on the sidewalk, her friends hovering uselessly around her. His phone buzzed. Then again. And again. Notifications flooded in. The video had already gone viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. But Roman felt nothing. Or rather, he felt everything at once. Betrayal, vindication, grief, rage, and underneath it all, a hollow emptiness that money could never fill. Ethan broke the silence. "What are you going to do?" Roman's jaw tightened. "I don't know yet." But deep down, he knew this wasn't over. Because the real question wasn't whether Charlotte loved him. It was whether he could ever trust anyone again. Or if this test had broken something in himself that could never be repaired. 3 days later, Roman sat in his penthouse, surrounded by silence and screens displaying the viral video that had shattered his world. 20 million views. His inbox overflowed with interview requests, sympathy messages, and opportunistic pitches. He'd ignored them all. Ethan entered without knocking, his face grave. "Roman, we need to talk. If this is about Charlotte's 57 calls, I'm not interested." "It's not." Ethan dropped a folder on the desk. "It's about why she was really at that community center." Roman's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "I had our investigators dig deeper." "Roman, Charlotte wasn't volunteering there out of charity." Ethan opened the folder, revealing photographs. She was meeting someone, a man named Zach Morrison. The name meant nothing to Roman. Who is he? A real estate developer. Bankrupt, desperate, and according to his phone records, in contact with Charlotte for the past 4 months. Ethan's voice softened. "Roman, she was using you. The community center was a cover. She was negotiating to funnel your money into Zach's failing projects through a charity scheme. Roman's world tilted. That's impossible. Charlotte never asked me for money. Not directly. But look at this. Ethan pulled up bank statements on his tablet. The charity she claimed to work for? It's a shell company. Zach's the hidden owner. They were planning to hit you up for a donation of $50 million after the engagement went public. Roman stood abruptly, his hands shaking. Everything. The 6 months of laughter, the quiet mornings, the way she looked at him. Had it all been a performance? Then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against his better judgment, Roman answered. Mr. Blackwell? A woman's trembling voice. My name is Ivy Martinez. I'm Charlotte's roommate. I need to tell you the truth. Roman's pulse quickened. Go on. Charlotte's not who you think she is. But she's also not the monster in that video. Ivy's voice cracked. 6 months ago, her younger sister Sarah got sick. Stage 4 cancer. The medical bills destroyed their family. Charlotte was desperate, drowning in debt she couldn't tell anyone about. Roman sank back into his chair, his head spinning. Zach approached her with a plan. Ivy continued. He said if she could get close to you, convince you to invest in his charity, he'd pay her enough to cover Sarah's treatment. Charlotte hated herself for it. I heard her crying every night. She was falling in love with you for real, Mr. Blackwell, but she was trapped. Why should I believe you? Roman's voice was cold, but his heart hammered against his ribs. Because I have proof. Text messages. Voice recordings. Everything. Ivy hesitated. Charlotte doesn't know I'm calling you. She made me promise not to interfere. But after what happened, I can't stay silent. Sarah has 2 months to live without treatment. Charlotte chose to lose you rather than keep lying. Roman's throat tightened. Where is Charlotte now? The hospital. With Sarah. She's been there since the video went viral. She hasn't eaten, hasn't slept. She thinks she deserves this punishment. After Ivy hung up, Roman sat frozen, his mind at war with his heart. Ethan watched him carefully. What are you going to do? Roman looked at the video paused on his screen. Charlotte's face twisted with cruelty, weaponizing his name against a stranger. But now he saw something else beneath the surface. Desperation. Fear. The performance of a woman with impossible choices. I'm going to the hospital, Roman said quietly. Roman. I tested her humanity when she thought I was nobody. I failed. Roman grabbed his jacket. Now I need to test my own. When Roman arrived at County Memorial Hospital, he found Charlotte in the pediatric oncology ward, asleep in a chair beside a bed where a teenage girl lay connected to machines. The girl, Sarah, was pale and fragile but alive. Roman's security had wanted to accompany him, but he'd refused. This moment required vulnerability, not power. Charlotte stirred, her eyes opening. When she saw Roman standing in the doorway, her face crumpled. Please don't wake her, Charlotte whispered, tears streaming down her face. She doesn't know about what I did. What I am. Roman stepped closer. Ivy called me. She told me everything. Charlotte's eyes widened in horror. No, Roman, I didn't want you to. To know you were trying to save your sister's life? Roman knelt beside her chair. To know that you were drowning and saw me as a lifeline. I used you, Charlotte choked out. I lied to you. I fell in love with you while plotting to steal from you. And then when you tested me, I failed so completely. We both failed, Roman interrupted softly. I tested your humanity when I should have trusted your heart. You accepted a devil's bargain when you should have asked for help. We both let fear turn us into people we're not. Charlotte shook her head, unable to speak. Roman reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. He made a call, his eyes never leaving Charlotte's face. Eva, I need you to transfer funds immediately. $5 million to County Memorial Hospital, earmarked for Sarah Hayes' complete treatment. He paused. And another $5 million to Charlotte Hayes personally. No conditions. No strings. Just do it. Charlotte gasped. Roman, I can't. You can. And you will. Roman stood, his expression unreadable. Your sister deserves to live. You deserve freedom from impossible choices. But Charlotte, his voice hardened. We're done. The engagement is over. Whatever love existed between us died on that sidewalk. Charlotte nodded, broken but understanding. I know. Thank you. For everything. Roman turned to leave, but paused at the door. The woman I fell in love with was real. I saw glimpses of her. I just wish she'd trusted me enough to let me meet her completely. As he walked away, Charlotte whispered to his retreating back, "She wishes that too." But Roman didn't hear her. Outside the hospital, Ethan waited by the car. "How do you feel?" Roman looked up at the stars, feeling something shift inside him. "Like I finally understand that testing people's worth says more about your own fears than their character." "So what now?" Roman smiled, small, sad, but genuine. "Now I learn to trust again. Starting with myself." 2 weeks after the hospital, Roman's world imploded in ways he never anticipated. The video had sparked a media firestorm, but the narrative had twisted into something uglier. Anonymous sources, later revealed to be Zach Morrison's associates, leaked evidence that Roman had orchestrated the entire scene as a publicity stunt. That Charlotte was an actress he'd hired. That the Beggar test was fake outrage designed to boost his company's stock before a major acquisition. The SEC launched an investigation. His board of directors called an emergency meeting, and the public turned on him with vicious speed. "Billionaire's cruel hoax," screamed the headlines. Roman Blackwell manipulated millions for profit. Roman watched his empire shake. Partnerships dissolved overnight. Investors pulled out. The acquisition deal, worth $3 billion, collapsed. Ethan stormed into his office, slamming down a legal brief. "They're trying to remove you as CEO. The board votes tomorrow." Roman barely reacted. He'd stopped sleeping, stopped eating. The penthouse that once felt like a kingdom now felt like a tomb. "Let them," he said emptily. "Let them." Ethan's voice rose. "Roman, this is everything you've built. Everything you promised your mother. I promised her I'd become someone worth being proud of." Roman's voice cracked. "Look at what I've become. I tested the woman I loved like she was a business transaction. I humiliated her publicly. I'm not a king. I'm just broken." His phone buzzed constantly with messages he refused to read. Death threats. Lawsuits. Former friends distancing themselves. But the silence from Charlotte hurt most. He'd paid for Sarah's treatment, deposited the money in Charlotte's account, then blocked her number because seeing her name made his chest feel like it was caving in. That night, Kyle found Roman on the penthouse balcony, 40 stories above the city, staring down at the lights below. "Sir, step back from the edge," Kyle said carefully. Roman laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "I'm not going to jump, Kyle. I'm just wondering how I got so high that the fall felt inevitable. The board meeting is in 8 hours. You need to prepare your defense." "There is no defense," Roman said quietly. "I did exactly what they're accusing me of. I manipulated people. I played God with emotions. The only difference is my intentions, and who cares about those?" Kyle hesitated. "Charlotte does." Roman's head snapped up. "What?" "She's been trying to reach you. She's gathered evidence proving Zach Morrison fabricated the media leaks. She has witnesses, documents, recordings. Everything you'd need to clear your name." Kyle pulled out his phone, showing message after message from Charlotte. "She's been working night and day to save you." Roman's hands shook as he read the messages. "Roman, please. I know you hate me, but I have proof you're innocent. Zach is destroying you because you exposed his scheme. Let me help fix this. I know I don't deserve your trust, but your mother would want you to fight." That last message shattered him. Roman turned away, tears he'd suppressed for 2 weeks finally breaking free. "I can't face her. Not after what I did. What I turned her into." "She doesn't blame you," Kyle said gently. "She blames herself. You're both drowning in guilt while the real villains win." Roman's phone buzzed again. This time, a video message from an unknown number. He almost deleted it, but something made him press play. Charlotte's face appeared, exhausted but determined. Behind her stood Sarah, thin but smiling, alive. "Roman, I know you blocked me. I don't blame you, but I need you to hear this." Charlotte's voice wavered. "Sarah's in remission. Because of you. You saved her life when you had every reason to walk away. That's who you really are." Sarah leaned into the frame. "Mr. Blackwell, my sister talks about you every day. She says you're the best man she ever met, even though she hurt you. Please don't let the bad people win. Fight back." The video ended. Roman stood frozen on the balcony, the city lights blurring through his tears. Ethan's voice came from behind him. "The board meets at 8 a.m. What do you want to do?" Roman wiped his face and turned around, something hardening in his expression. "I want to fight," he said, "but not alone. Get Charlotte on the phone. If she's willing to stand with me after everything, then maybe I haven't lost all my humanity after all." But when Ethan tried to call Charlotte, it went straight to voicemail. Then a news alert flashed across Roman's phone. Breaking. Key witness in Blackwell case hospitalized after hit-and-run accident. Charlotte Hayes in critical condition. Roman's world stopped. Roman ran. Not toward power or money or vindication. He ran toward the woman he'd pushed away, the woman who'd tried to save him even after he'd destroyed her. County Memorial Hospital became his entire universe. Charlotte lay in the ICU, unconscious, her body broken from the accident that Roman knew in his bones was no accident at all. Zach Morrison had tried to silence her. Sarah sat beside her sister's bed, holding Charlotte's hand and weeping. When she saw Roman burst through the door, flanked by Kyle and 3 other security guards, she stood defensively. "You can't be here," Sarah said, her voice sharp despite her frailty. "You've hurt her enough." Roman stopped, the words cutting deep. "I know. But Sarah, I think someone tried to kill her to stop her from helping me. And I need to make this right." Sarah's expression wavered. She was on her way to deliver evidence to your lawyer when it happened. The driver fled the scene. "It wasn't an accident," Roman said grimly. He turned to Kyle. "Pull every traffic camera, every security feed within 10 miles. Find that car. Find the driver. I want Zach Morrison in handcuffs by tonight." Kyle nodded and disappeared. Roman approached Charlotte's bedside slowly, as if sudden movement might shatter the fragile moment. Her face was bruised, her arm in a cast, but she was breathing. Alive. "I'm so sorry," Roman whispered, his voice breaking. "For the test. For doubting you. For not seeing that you were fighting your own battle while I was too blind to ask why." Sarah watched him, her anger softening. "She loved you, you know. Really loved you. Even when she hated herself for how it started." "I loved her too," Roman admitted. "I still do. That's what terrifies me." He sat in the chair Charlotte had occupied 2 weeks ago when he'd found her beside Sarah's bed. The symmetry wasn't lost on him. 2 people desperately trying to save someone they loved, both willing to sacrifice everything. Hours passed. Roman refused to leave. He held Charlotte's hand and talked to her unconscious form, telling her things he'd been too proud to say when she could hear him. "You were right to test me too," he said quietly. "I'd become someone who valued money over humanity, who thought wealth made me wise. You showed me I'd turned into the very thing I feared, someone who judges worth by appearance." Sarah fell asleep in the corner chair. Nurses came and went. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Then, as dawn light crept through the hospital window, Charlotte's fingers twitched. Roman leaned forward, his heart hammering. "Charlotte, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, confused, unfocused, then landing on his face. "Roman." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry. For everything." Charlotte tried to sit up but winced. "The evidence. Zach, did you get?" "Forget Zach. Forget the evidence. Forget everything except this. You almost died trying to save me when I treated you like you were disposable. Charlotte, I was wrong. About the test, about judging you, about thinking love needed to be proven." His voice cracked. "You already proved it. Every day we were together, you proved it." "But I lied to you," Charlotte whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I was going to steal from you, and I humiliated you in front of millions. We both made mistakes born from fear and desperation. But Charlotte," Roman squeezed her hand gently, "Sarah's alive because of your choices. And I'm finally human again because of what you taught me. Maybe we can forgive each other." Charlotte stared at him, searching his face for deception and finding only raw honesty. "I don't know how to trust this," she admitted. "Trust you. Trust us." "Neither do I," Roman said. "But I'm willing to try if you are. No tests this time. No games. Just 2 broken people learning to heal together." Before Charlotte could respond, Kyle burst through the door, phone in hand. "Sir, we found the driver. Hired by Morrison. And we've recovered Charlotte's evidence from her car. It's all intact. Everything she collected proves Morrison orchestrated the smear campaign. The DA wants to prosecute immediately." Roman's expression hardened. He turned back to Charlotte. "Will you testify against him?" "With me?" Charlotte nodded slowly. "Together." "Together," Roman confirmed. For the first time in weeks, something like hope flickered between them. Sarah woke up and saw them holding hands, saw the look passing between them, and smiled despite everything. "So," she said cheerfully, "do I get to keep calling him my future brother-in-law, or did you both screw that up too badly?" Charlotte laughed, painful but genuine. Roman joined her, the sound foreign but healing. "Let's start with friends," Charlotte said softly, looking at Roman, "and see where truth takes us." Roman nodded. "Friends who fight monsters together. The best kind of friends," Charlotte agreed. Outside the hospital room, dawn broke over the city. The darkest hour was over. Now came the reckoning. The boardroom had never felt so much like a battlefield. Roman walked in flanked by Charlotte, still bruised but standing, and Ethan, who carried a briefcase full of evidence that would either save Roman's empire or destroy him completely. 12 board members sat around the table, their faces ranging from sympathetic to openly hostile. At the head sat Victoria Kane, the company's oldest board member and Roman's harshest critic. "Mr. Blackwell," Victoria began coldly, "you've brought the company into scandal, triggered an SEC investigation, and cost us billions in market value. Give us one reason not to vote you out today." Roman stood tall. "Because everything you think you know is a lie orchestrated by Zach Morrison, a con artist who tried to steal from this company, using someone I loved as an unwitting pawn." Murmurs erupted. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Bold claims require bold evidence. Charlotte stepped forward, her voice steady despite her injuries. "I'm Charlotte Hayes. I'm the woman from the video. And I'm here to tell you the truth Mr. Morrison doesn't want you to hear." For the next 20 minutes, Charlotte laid bare everything. Her sister's illness, Zach's manipulation, the fake charity scheme, and how Roman's test had accidentally exposed a criminal conspiracy. Ethan followed with documentation. Wire transfers, recorded conversations, testimony from Ivy and 3 other witnesses, and traffic cam footage showing Zach's associate deliberately ramming Charlotte's car. But the final blow came from an unexpected source. The boardroom doors opened and Kyle entered with 2 police officers and a handcuffed Zach Morrison, who looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "We arrested him an hour ago attempting to flee the country," Kyle announced. "He's agreed to a full confession in exchange for a reduced sentence." Victoria leaned forward. "Is this true, Mr. Morrison?" Zach glared at Roman with pure hatred. "He ruined everything. The beggar stunt was supposed to discredit him, so my charity scheme could proceed. When that failed, I leaked the fake scandal. When Charlotte tried to expose me, He trailed off, unable to finish. "You tried to kill her," Roman said flatly. Zach said nothing. The board erupted in shocked conversation. Victoria raised her hand for silence. "Mr. Blackwell, the evidence is compelling." However, she fixed Roman with a stern look. "The beggar test itself showed questionable judgment. You manipulated a situation that caused harm, regardless of what it exposed." Roman nodded. "You're right. I let paranoia and past betrayals turn me into someone who tested love instead of trusting it. I humiliated someone I cared about publicly. That's on me, and I'll spend the rest of my life making amends." He turned to the entire board. "But I also learned something crucial. This company isn't just about profit margins and acquisitions. It's about people. Real people with real struggles. If you keep me as CEO, I'll never forget that again." Charlotte reached out and squeezed his hand. Victoria studied them both, then glanced at the other board members. "All in favor of retaining Roman Blackwell as CEO?" One by one, hands rose. 11 votes in favor. Victoria's hand rose last. "Unanimous. Don't make us regret this, Roman." Roman exhaled the breath he'd been holding. "I won't. Thank you." As the meeting adjourned, police led Zach away. He stopped in front of Charlotte, his expression unreadable. "I really am sorry about Sarah," Zach said quietly. "That part wasn't an act. I just got desperate." Charlotte's voice was ice. "Desperation doesn't excuse what you did. But I hope you find whatever redemption looks like for you." Zach nodded and disappeared down the hallway. Outside the building, a crowd of reporters waited. Roman had spent 2 weeks hiding from cameras. Now he walked straight toward them, Charlotte at his side. "Mr. Blackwell, is it true you faked the beggar video? Mr. Blackwell, are you and Charlotte getting back together? Mr. Blackwell, what do you say to people calling you a fraud?" Roman raised his hand, and the crowd silenced. "I'm going to tell you the truth. All of it." He took a breath. "I tested someone I loved because I was afraid of being used. That fear made me cruel, paranoid, and ultimately destructive. The video you saw was real. My disguise was real. Charlotte's words were real. And my heartbreak was real." He glanced at Charlotte, who nodded encouragement. "But what you didn't see was the conspiracy behind it. A criminal named Zach Morrison manipulated Charlotte's desperation to save her dying sister. He tried to steal from my company, and when I accidentally exposed his scheme, he destroyed my reputation and tried to kill the woman who could prove my innocence. Roman's voice strengthened. Today, justice was served. Morrison is in custody. My name is cleared. But I want to be very clear about something. I'm not the victim in this story. I'm the man who let fear turn him into someone unrecognizable. Charlotte is the hero. She risked everything, her safety, her reputation, her life, to tell the truth. Charlotte's eyes widened, tears forming. And because of her courage, Roman continued, I'm establishing the Sarah Hayes Foundation for families facing medical bankruptcy. $100 million to start. Because no one should have to choose between saving a loved one and their own integrity. The reporters erupted with questions, but Roman was done. He turned to Charlotte, right there in front of cameras and microphones and the watching world. I know I don't deserve another chance, he said softly, just for her. But if you're willing, I'd like to spend the rest of my life proving that love doesn't need tests. It just needs truth. Charlotte smiled through her tears. What about friendship? Didn't we agree to start there? Best friends who fall in love, Roman offered. How's that? Charlotte laughed. It's a start. She kissed him then, gentle, tentative, but real. The cameras flashed wildly. The crowd gasped. But Roman and Charlotte barely noticed. They'd survived tests, betrayals, conspiracies, and their own worst selves. Now finally they were free to just be. 6 months later, Roman stood in a completely different kind of crowd. The grand opening of the Sarah Hayes Medical Center was everything Charlotte had dreamed. A state-of-the-art facility offering free treatment for families who couldn't afford life-saving care. Sarah, now in full remission with hair growing back in wild curls, cut the ribbon to thunderous applause. She'd become the foundation's spokesperson, her story inspiring millions. Charlotte stood beside Roman, her hand intertwined with his. They'd taken the 6 months slowly. Coffee dates, long conversations, therapy sessions both individual and together. Learning to trust without tests. To love without fear. You did this, Charlotte whispered, watching Sarah glow under the attention. We did this, Roman corrected. I just provided the money. You provided the heart. Ethan approached with a tablet. Final numbers are in. The foundation's raised an additional $50 million from donors. We can expand to 3 more cities next year. Roman smiled. Make it 5 cities. We're not thinking small anymore. As the ceremony concluded, Roman pulled Charlotte aside to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The same city where everything had fallen apart and somehow come together. I have something for you, Roman said nervously. Charlotte raised an eyebrow. If it's another test. It's a choice, Roman interrupted gently. He pulled out a small velvet box. Charlotte's breath caught. 6 months ago, I tried to test if you were worthy of me, Roman said, his voice thick with emotion. I was looking for proof you loved me without conditions. But Charlotte, I had it backwards. The question was never whether you were worthy of my love. It was whether I was worthy of yours. He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. I'm not asking you to marry me today. I'm asking if someday, when we're both ready, when the wounds have fully healed, when we've built something real on a foundation of truth, you might consider spending your life with someone who finally understands that love isn't proven through tests. It's proven through choice. Every single day. Charlotte stared at the ring, then at Roman, tears streaming down her face. You know what the craziest part is? She said, laughing through tears. I think we both needed that terrible day. You needed to see who I became under pressure. I needed to see who you became when stripped of everything. We both failed spectacularly. And somehow found each other in the wreckage. Roman finished. Charlotte took the ring box and closed it gently. Ask me again in a year, when we've had more time, more trust, more proof that we're choosing each other not from desperation or redemption, but from genuine love. Roman's face fell for just a moment before breaking into the most genuine smile Charlotte had ever seen. That's the best answer I could have hoped for, he said. It means you're thinking about forever. I've been thinking about forever since the hospital, Charlotte admitted. But I want to make sure we build it right this time. They kissed as the sun set over the city. 2 people who'd been tested by cruelty, judged by millions, and nearly destroyed by their own fears. Now choosing each other with eyes wide open. Below them, Sarah waved excitedly, pointing at her phone. Guys, the foundation video just hit 10 million views. We're trending. Charlotte laughed. Should we go be inspirational? Only if we're honest about being imperfect, Roman said. Deal. They walked back to the celebration hand in hand, the velvet box tucked safely in Roman's pocket. A promise for someday, but not today. Because they'd learned the hardest lesson. Real love isn't found in grand gestures or public tests or viral moments. It's found in the quiet choice to keep showing up, keep being honest, and keep believing that two broken people can heal each other if they're brave enough to try. As they rejoined the party, Ethan raised his glass. To second chances. The crowd echoed the toast. But Roman whispered different words to Charlotte, just for her. To first real chances. Charlotte squeezed his hand. To building something true. And somewhere in the city, the video of a beggar and a cruel woman had been replaced by a new story. One of redemption, justice, and love that survived its own destruction. The internet moved on to new scandals. But Roman and Charlotte moved forward to new possibilities. And Sarah? She started a YouTube channel documenting her recovery, ending every video with the same words. Love isn't perfect. People aren't perfect. But choosing to grow together? That's the real fairy tale. Her channel hit 1 million subscribers in 3 weeks. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ended with happily ever working, which turned out to be so much better. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales of love, redemption, and second chances. Drop a comment below telling me, do you believe Roman and Charlotte will make it? I read every single comment. Until next time, remember, the best love stories aren't about perfection. They're about choosing each other, again and again, especially after everything falls apart. See you in the next story.